Hello all, Rambling Canuck back for another video. Today's video is going to be a more in-depth kind of a follow-up to my Star Trek Picard review of the trailer. In this video I'm going to pick out just certain parts of the trailer that I wanted to discuss a little bit further and kind of throw out my ideas on, and kind of highlight some of my favorite points of the trailer, and I hope you enjoy it. If you have ideas of things you'd like me to talk about in future videos, please do leave a comment in the description. I will be more than happy to read them, and if it is something that I can do, I would be more than happy to do so. With that said, let's get going. Okay, first of all, let's start off on the major positive note. If you watched my review, you will know that I am super happy that the leather jacket is back. I like the black on black. I like that they didn't go the black and red suede that they did in the show. I like the black on black. I like that this jacket shows a little bit of wornness to it. And I really like the black on black. Moving on, keeping in the uniform discussion. Here's a screenshot from the trailer of different uniforms, and they are TNG-esque, but not exact. And as I said in the review, if this is the uniform they're going to go with, I'm perfectly okay with that. I'm happy with that. It beats the heck out of the Enterprise series uniform, and it beats the living daylights out of the uniform, or the so-called uniform, of Discovery. So this aesthetic I can be happy with. Yes, you can nitpick that, you know, it's 20 years in advance. Why is it so much like TNG? Personally, I would have preferred, if I had it my way, I would say I would have preferred that they kept the uniform from the later movies. So the gray uniform and the white dress uniform that they wore in First Contact and later on in Insurrection and so forth. I like that. That's my favorite uniform. Yes, I know my TOS fans are going to flip because nothing beats the original, but for me, those are my favorites. So as far as the aesthetic goes, I'm happy with it. So moving on, we're going to move to a character reveal, and that is Data. In this shot, we see early in the trailer Data's body disassembled, or what we believe is Data's body, with battle damage and such. At the end of the trailer, we see this image of Data. And this image of Data has got a lot of flack because the CGI and the de-aging was a little much. However, I will agree that it's not the most flattering depiction of Data. However, I still say this is too early. It's too early. It's only in the trailer. I'm pretty sure as the show goes on, if Data is going to be a mainstay or a returning character, as they go, I think that they're going to rein it in a little bit better and fix it up, touch it up. And it's just the trailer release, and who knows, maybe they were rushed and they had to do it quickly, and this is the best they could do under the time restraints. So I'm willing to be a little bit more forgiving than others. Now, Data appearing in the trailer, I have mixed emotions on. One, I think it's only natural that Data is in the trailer because of the fact that by the trailer you learn that in a sense, you get the feeling the reason that Picard left Starfleet was because Data sacrificed himself for Picard. And that has got a lot of ire online, to say the least. However, I would say it makes sense, because in a way, you could say that Data and Picard had kind of a father-son relationship. And they were very close. And yes, Picard loses crew members. However, I think that the emotion they're going for is not your best friend, not your, a person you've known for 10 years or 5 years or 3 years, or a random ensign who just came on your ship 5 minutes ago, passing under your command. But more, I think the emotion that they're going to try to hit, and if done correctly, it could make sense and it could really, really pull this thing together, is how would you feel internally if your son or your daughter pushed you from a moving bus and got hit themselves, sacrificing their lives for you? And as a parent, that's your worst nightmare, is your child going before you. So I think that's the vein they're going for. And if that's the case, then this could be compelling, and it could, and if it's done right, written right, and really explained that way, then it would make sense that Data's death affected Picard more than anyone else that he's lost under his command, because it was like his own child had sacrificed himself. And Picard, already we had seen in the show, had mixed feelings about his choices in life. By that I mean choosing his career over making a family, and never having someone to carry on the Picard name. And in Data, he found that Data kind of filled that void for him, in a sense. At least that was my impression. So if they write it that way and they do it that way, I think it could be compelling and it could be believable in that sense. Okay, with that, let's move on to the Borg. So the Borg are making a return. We don't know exactly to what extent, what role they're going to play. However, we get this beautiful shot of a damaged, by the looks of it, Borg Cube. There's been many theories thrown out already as to what this Borg Cube could be. It could be the actual prison that we see later on. It could be a different type of Borg Cube. It could be a battle cube. I tend to lean towards it being the prison that we see in the trailer. Just because of the aesthetic. I think that that's pretty much the closest guess. How the Borg Cube became that and such is more up for question. But I think it's a healthy debate, and I think it's something that is very cool. Moving on. Can't talk about the Borg without talking about 7 of 9. Now, the Borg and Picard make sense from a story point. The Borg and Jean-Luc Picard are linked. Jean-Luc Picard was Locutus of Borg. So for the Borg to be in a Star Trek Picard show makes sense. 7 of 9, however, leaves a lot of questions to be answered. And also the fact that they have decided that her personality is going to be different, her implant's going to look different. And mind you, I'm not ready to completely dismiss 7 of 9 being in the show as a bad thing or a good thing at this point, because it's just too early to tell. We haven't seen enough footage. But I do have one feeling on this. I don't think it should have been her in this position. I think it should have been Riker. In this position in the trailer, she says, "What are you doing here, Picard?" That should have been Riker. And 7 of 9 should have been held off. The announcement of 7 of 9 returning should have been held off. Just because I think her being involved requires a little bit of a backstory and a little bit of explanation. A lot more explanation than you can give 30 seconds or a minute or less in a trailer. So I think 7 of 9's reveal should have been kept hidden until the show actually aired. What I think they should have done is they should have had Riker in her position during the trailer. And then when this scene was played, when the series is shown, the headline would read on Twitter, Facebook, and all of your other sites and your shill media or whatever you want to call them, little sites advertising the show, the headline would have been 7 of 9 returns to Picard. You got to see this. I think that would have been a lot bigger of a draw in than showing her with no explanation in the trailer. So I really think Riker should have had this particular spot in the trailer. Now, again, it's too early to tell if this is going to be a good thing or a bad thing. However, with that said, I'm okay with it. I just hope they give some explanation other than, well, he was Locutus. She knows him because she was connected to the hive mind. Case closed, done. Okay, moving on. So, yeah. So personally, I think this part in the trailer should have gone to Riker, because I think her appearance in the Picard series should have been kept a secret until the show was actually on the air. And this episode aired because I think it would have done them a lot more justice and a lot more shock and awe if the headline was 7 of 9 makes appearance in Picard. I think that would have gotten a lot more butts in the seats, as it were, than a unexplained couple of lines in a trailer. So that's my only critique on that. Moving on. This here is a shot of what we believe is the ship that Picard is going to be on, or captaining, or in charge of. However, it is kind of confusing, as some have pointed out, that Picard is not in the captain's chair. However, we could be seeing him be more of an admiral-esque role. In other words, he's not in command of the ship, but more in command of the mission, which could be an interesting dynamic. So he's still the one giving the orders, but he's just not, it's not his ship. Because in all intents and purposes, pardon me for a second, all intents and purposes, it feels very much like Picard is going to be part of a ragtag group. He's not going to be in the Federation. He's not going to have a fancy starship. And he's going rogue, which I have mixed feelings on. However, I would point out this. I think that either way they went, they were screwed. And by this, let me explain. So, if they had put Picard as an admiral or a captain on a Starfleet vessel, I think the argument would be, oh, this is just going to be a ripoff of TNG. It's been done. We've already seen this. Next. But, on the other side of the coin, because they're not going Picard on a Starfleet ship doing Starfleet missions, the argument is, this isn't Picard. Picard is a captain of Starfleet. What the hell is going on? So I think they were cooked either way, quite honestly. And because of the way that Discovery has been received, I really think they were cooked either way. Either way they sliced it, either way they did it, they were cooked. So, I am relatively interested to see how this is going to turn out. I also find it curious that they're going with this aesthetic, and up here in Canada, the Picard series will be shown on Amazon Prime. What other major sci-fi show is on Amazon Prime? Oh yeah, The Expanse. And this has an Expanse/Firefly feel to it. So as I've said before, I personally think this is no accident. I personally think that there's a reason for this aesthetic. And the aesthetic is this way because I personally feel that when Picard does come out, but the Picard series will air very, very close, either the same day or the next day or the day before, probably the next day or the same day as The Expanse. Reason being, you have a built-in fan base of a popular show. You have another show with the same kind of aesthetic. Your hope is you're going to pull in your already built fan base to the new show. Ergo, you're going to get more viewers from the established show. UFC and WWE did the same thing many, many years ago when UFCW was in its infancy on Spike TV. WWE would air, and then UFC would air right after, in the hopes that wrestling fans would stay tuned in to watch the UFC. And I think that is the same marketing plan that is going to go into Picard. I think Picard is going to either air the same day or the next day or very close to The Expanse. And just because I really like the iconic Engage look, I had to throw this one in there. And again, it's Picard in his civvies, not in his uniform, saying engage. So, I'll wrap this up quite nicely by saying, will Picard be the most awesome Star Trek show ever? Probably not. However, I'm not ready to give up on it just yet. As TNG was my favorite Star Trek, Picard, one of my favorite captains, the crew of the Enterprise D, later the E, my favorite Enterprise of all time. I'm just hoping this show is good. And until the show proves me otherwise, I'm going to continue to hold out hope. And I hope you do too. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. And like I said in the opening, feel free to leave a comment. If there's something you'd like me to cover or talk about or give my opinion on, feel free to leave it in the comments. If I can reasonably do it, I will. And, as I always say, thank you all for coming. And until next time, have a great one, folks.